On Nationwide this evening, connecting old Lisbon with old Dublin. The story of how a Portuguese tram ended up in Dublin City.
What a beautiful home, and we wish Roisin and Connor every happiness in it. Now we're staying with restoration for our next story. Here we are in Wolfetone Square at the Tram Café, and we've been following the restoration of this old tram from the time it was found 2 years ago in a field in Mulla in County Cavan to where it is now, a visitor attraction in the heart of Dublin. Niall Martin has the story.
From the hot streets of Lisbon to a wet field in Cavan, Tram 305 has had an interesting life on and off the rails. Built in Philadelphia in 1902, Tram 305 served the public on the streets of Lisbon until 1996.
It was made by Brill in Philadelphia about 100 years ago, shipped over to Lisbon, and it was running there till the late 80s, and then it was retired, and I went to the Colwyn Way Tram Society over in Wales, and with all museums, ran out of money.
Publican Dave Fitzpatrick has always loved trams.
When I was young, I stayed in an old tram, a Hote tram, that was, well, I won't call it renovated. There was rooms upstairs and there was kitchen downstairs, and that has stayed in my mind for the last 40 years. It's nostalgic, it's quirky. Like my parents, who remember the trams back in the 50s, and their generation would say, well, this is great. Younger generation say, well, this is quirky. You know, it's not just an average coffee house. And for me, it's something I always wanted to do.
The structure itself is very sound. It has been lifted up in the last 2.5 years, it's been lifted 3 times with a crane. And it's literally, the glass is still here, everything is perfect. It's designed to sit on front and back wheels originally, so the steel structure is perfect. It just needs to be cleaned up, more storage put into it, and redress everything. So structurally, it's sound. It's a labour of love. I came across this with Dave Fitzpatrick about 2.5 years ago. He asked me to price renovating an old tram. As soon as I saw it, I just said, this is, one, it's hard to price, but two, it's a labour of love. And we did up a price, and I came back to Dave, and I just basically said, listen, I'd like to be more involved in this, because you can't just throw builders at this. You need to restore it, bring everything back to the original, and get the proof of concept. This is a long-term project. This is something I'd like my kids to be involved in years to come, Dave's kids to be involved in years to come, because it's just so unique.
After the Welsh Museum sold the tram, it was bought by a Cavan man who laid it up in a field, and that's where Dave came across it.
I was driving down around Mulla one time, and an old country bore in. What's this? And I had to stop off with my wife and kids and had a look, and there's an old tram in the middle of a field. So went into it, then went down to the local shop, asked who owned it. No one would tell me anything. 2 weeks later, I went back, bought a load of sweets in the shop, said, who owns that? And they said, such and such. Do you have his number? No. Went back another couple of weeks later, bought more stuff in the shop, and well, here's my number. And then he rang me up, but it wasn't for sale. He told me his grand plan to pull it around this field, all 6.5 tons of it. About a year and it passed, and then he rang me up and says, I'll sell it to you. We moved it up to my friend's farm in Mullahorn in Cavan, and it was there for, well, 3 years temporarily, while we were dealing with Dublin City Council, and finally got the go-ahead a couple of weeks ago, and God was on to Sean Mead, and they moved it down to here.
6 months later, and Dave's tram is beginning to take shape. The body has been sandblasted and filled, the interior has been insulated. Electrics and heating added, the coachwork has been repainted, and the soft furnishings are ready for fitting.
The seats are all the original seats. They're all the original seats, just being reupholstered. 90% of the stuff in the tram has been saved. Like for instance, the windows, 90% of them were the original. The lads just had a few of them that were beyond repair. Just put new wood in. The glass is all brand new.
Dave is now happy that Tram 305 is ready for its new life in Dublin city centre.
It's nostalgic, it's quirky, it's street theatre, it'll brighten up anywhere. And then again, if it doesn't work, I can lift it up and move it somewhere else.
And the cost?
Price of a 3-bedroom semi outside Dublin. Yeah, it's well over 200,000 now at this stage.
7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and Dave and John's dream tram is ready to be moved into place in the historic Wolfetone Square, just off Dublin's Henry Street.
Build it and they will come. That's our theory. There is nobody in this park at the moment, and the idea is to get people into the park, get them outside. There's public seating here, there's private seating. As far as security, it's all laminated structural glass on it. We have it remotely monitored. We have cameras on it. We have lights on it. So we do hope that people in the community will want to keep it here. They don't want it graffitied and damaged.
Plenty of ups and downs. For a while we didn't think it was going to happen, but now it's here. There's a great feel to it, like those trees up behind the tram give it that continental feel. So hopefully we'll have a bit more sunshine here, bring a bit of life to it.
It's been a long 3.5 years, but it's finally here. It looks fantastic.
Tram 305 is now in its final resting place in what was a cemetery attached to the church that Arthur Guinness got married in. After serving the public in Lisbon for 94 years with transport, the cafe will now be serving the public with coffees and lunches.
It's now Sunday morning at 9:05. This is open for business at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
What a wonderful story of restoration. The Tram Café lowered into position here in Wolfetone Square on a morning in April last year. And here we are 10 months later. Dave and John, how's it been?
It's been magic. It's been like a roller coaster. I remember that on the Monday, people just walking by amazed, where did this tram come from?
You've got a great location. Who would your customers be for the most part?
80% of our clients would be tourists from all around the world. It was funny, we were only open about a week, and a guy came over to me, a Dublin guy, and said, I had to come in and see this tram. I says, why? My son rang me from Australia, and he says, have you seen the tram in Dublin? And he said, what tram? I said, the old trams. There's no old trams. And he said, there was a picture in the local newspaper after the first week over there. And he said, I had to come in for myself to have a look.
That's what you want.
Oh, it's been magic, yeah.
And you've expanded hugely.
Yeah, we found when we opened up that people wanted to sit inside the tram because we have our outside area, we have our inside area, but people were coming here and we couldn't fit them in. So we actually went back to the council and we only opened up the extension here now in December, which is huge success. Well, it is a park, so we want people to use it as a park. We have our pigeons, which can be a nuisance, but it's lovely for the kids. My niece comes in here and she feeds the birds, the little fella out there feeding them, and it's great. We're in a park, so we have our hooks here for the dogs to tie them up. We have our bowls. Well, the idea was, if it's a success, and thank God, knock on wood, it is a success. We have grown, we've learned a lot. We're only open 10 months, but the success we've had here is phenomenal. And particularly with the neighbours, like the Church Bar and Grill gave us from day one with our planning permission, gave us support. AXA, the Jervis Strength Centre, Dublin City Council, everybody has been a dream, I have to say, to work with.
It's just, it strikes me it's an ideal party venue.
It's absolutely magic. It's I suppose it's quirky, it's different. We've had inquiries, and then as I said, we have our kitchens up in Smithfield, so everything that is made here is fresh. All our cakes, everything that you can see is freshly made every day.
We want the reputation of basically having good food at a reasonable price in the centre of Dublin, and it's worked so far.
And isn't it lovely that you have breathed new life into this area and also into a tram that was plying the streets of Lisbon?
It's a restored cafe with a nice little extension. It's got the inside, and it has 3 separate compartments. It has the extension, it has the original tram, and it has the outside area, which for smoking and for people with their dogs. We have all options here.
So when you look back over 10 months in business and years of hard work and graft to get it to its restored state, would you do it again?
Absolutely. We'd do it in a heartbeat.
Clang, clang, clang.
bang went the trolley, ding, ding, ding went the bell. Zing, zing, zing went my heartstrings. From the moment I saw him, I fell.
Can't you just sense the enthusiasm from Dave and John? What a wonderful project to be involved in. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back we'll be going to Clonmel to meet a woman who's involved in restoring old furniture. We'll talk to you again in a couple of minutes.